Hello everyone and welcome to Connect with Evie. My name is Evelyn and I'm your source for tips and tricks about every secret nook and cranny in Objectif Lune's flagship product. In today's episode, we are going to take a look at producing some special output from Connect Designer. Actually, what we're going to do is produce output which is compatible with the imaging license. More specifically, content that is meant to go through Planet Press or Prez Search, or that is meant for the fax output. Now, both of these are actually kind of holdovers from our previous software, which was Planet Press. So Planet Press Search, Planet Press Image, and Planet Press Fax. But they are usable from the Connect license using a couple of tips and tricks. Now, both the image and the fax output are going to require that you create some indexes that are going to be available in workflow. These indexes will need to be present in the output, which means that they also need to be present inside of your record. Essentially, anything inside your record can be used as an index. In order to create these indexes, we're going to go into first the job creation settings, because this is what we need to use. And within the job creation settings, we'll need to include those inside of the metadata in the job and output. So when we go here, and we're going to add these into the document tag. So if I go here and I add a field metadata, which is, for example, the ID, as well as the, let's say, the rep ID, I believe I have here, and the invoice number, which is number. Those are very badly named. Don't do like me. Give your fields appropriate names. So ID, rep, and number. These need to be created on the document level. And I'll do search index here. Now this is for search output, or image output, as we say, because any field that you put inside of that metadata and inside of that output will be searchable from the search software. So then we need to do the output. Now the output needs to be PDF because we're generating content that's going to a very specific output. It requires a PDF output. And you should not have any of the options checked unless you want them to be part of the database. So if you have additional content, if you have separation, you can actually use that. But this is not generating your actual output. This is only in order to go into the image and the search output. And you need to ensure that it is the PDF VT output because that will put all the fields inside. So all the fields that we put in the metadata will be embedded inside the PDF, and this is what we're going to use. The other options, digital signature, just ignore that. And then we'll do that, and we can do PDF VT with indexes, for example. And I'm just gonna save this test indexes, and I'll send that into my onto my desktop. And I'm going to send that to workflow, including my presets that I just created. The following step is obviously in the automation tool. What we need to do is to actually create a PDF VT output. So I'll do as usual. I'll execute the data mapping, and then I'll do the create print content, and the create job using that search index job, and create output, which is obviously going to be my PDF VT with indexes, and I need to do through workflow. So essentially, I'm creating a PDF VT, which will contain all the indexes that I want, and I need to do the output, the image. Now I'm using Prez Image here, but if you have Planet Press Image, it's exactly the same thing, only the license changes. So here what needs to be done is that you'll choose the pass-through option. This takes a PDF VT as an input and outputs your PDF, and then it also outputs your PDI. Now, if you're used to search, PlanetPress search, you probably already know that your output folder here needs to be the one where your actual PlanetPress or Prez search seeks for new files. And when you do that, so let's say this is C archives search, for instance, and I create that. So now what happens is it'll create a PDF VT, and all of these records in the PDF VT will be placed inside of, probably by default, a single PDF, which is then picked up by search as it was in previous versions and indexed in the same way. So what about creating fax output? Well, fax only requires that you add some very specifically named metadata fields or indexes inside of your job creation. So if I take my existing search indexes and I go right here in the document tags, let's pretend for a minute that inside of this I actually have a fax number, but what you need to do is to call it a specific name. So this is fax number, very precisely like this. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This would normally be taken from the data, but this is just the example. So fax number will be where that is faxed. And then the fax info is just information. So if I do fax info, that would be what describes in the PlanetPress fax or the Prez fax output logs. So these are for the fax output. Now, if I do this and I call it fax indexes and I send this to workflow, I'm going to send only that because I already have all my other ones, fax indexes. The output for fax will be actually pretty much exactly the same thing. I'll just use the same one here. And I'll just replace the image output with a fax output. And this is it. Now, obviously, this is assuming that the actual fax preferences have been entered. So, you know, it's been set up to use the right service and all of that. And image is the same thing. It's assumed that your configuration is already done by default. This information on how to set this up is already available. One last thing, this is all documented. What I like to do is to actually look for fax in the documentation, and generating fax output is right here. And this also shows you the table of content on the left, which has the tags. If you want to do the email output in PlanetPress or Prez Image, this also works. It's right here, the exact tags that you need to output. Otherwise, any index that you put in there is put inside of the PDF VT and thus is available in PlanetPress Search if you're using that PlanetPress or Prez Search. And this concludes today's Connect with Evie. I hope you learned something new today. If you have any questions, comments, something you'd like for me to cover, just don't hesitate and comment below. Like if you like the video, subscribe if you want to be advised of any new videos that come out. And as always, see you in a few clicks.